So accessibility, what is accessibility? Accessibility is when you want to break barriers, when you go beyond these barriers, these blocks that they stop you from doing or entering where you want to go. The physical barriers are very easy to understand, are very easy to see because they are physical, you can see them. For example, this is a classic example, the wheelchair and the staircase. That is, you solve that with a ramp or with one of these chairs that they go up the stairs. But what happens when the barriers are to do with communication? Communication you cannot see usually. When it's written language you can, but usually communication you cannot see. So the accessibility, it is more metaphorical. It is the breaking the barriers are more metaphorical since you cannot see them actually. So you have in the communication you have, for example, the language of communication. If you don't, I'm from Catalonia. If you don't speak Catalan, we'll have a problem communicating. So you will need someone to translate from Catalan into English in order for us to communicate. So that is the language of the communication. But within language, you also have, for example, that you have sign language, which is not an oral language or a written language. It is a visual language, as we saw in the previous video. In the language as well, you have also the culture that is where the language is embedded, and that also may create barriers. You have all the modality, the oral and the visual. If you cannot access to the oral, then you would need to have some sort of services to compensate for that. If you cannot access the visual side of the language communication, you will also need compensation with access services to that. And of course, communication, it's transported, is delivered, and is distributed. And also the end user will need to have access to the communication, the interface, the user interface, in order to gain access to the communication, to the language, to the message, to the information that it is in it. Now we have a question. Is sign language a visual language? Is an oral language, or is it a written language? And the answer is sign language is a visual language. It is a natural language, but it's a visual language. Here we have some examples of the problems with communication. It is to do with cultures. In the right corner, we can see the lady going to shake hands while the gentleman is bowing, which is again a way of saying hello to each other, but in two completely different ways. I may be able to read, but sometimes when you go to the doctors and they give you the prescription, it is impossible to read the prescription. So again, it is not that you are not able to read. It is not that you are not understanding the language in itself, but it is the format, it is the way the paratext, the language is written that stops you from understanding. And sometimes, as you can see, these two guys, the lady and the gentleman, with a can, and sometimes it's nothing to do with the language, but with the distribution, with the hardware that we have to communicate to each other.